underground, feel like it's caving in. Reaching for a lifeline, knowing I could never save a friend. So this the end, that's how they begin. Heartbreak kids taking sweetest music on the chin. Trying to comprehend what's going on beyond my brim. Barely got a grasp on what's going on within. Below the surface, I just seem to skim. They got it for cheap and going deep, bleeds through the skin. Set adrift on memory splits, lost to see a sin. Devil setting up the setbacks, but I'll be damned. See him and his demons win. Feel it coming in the air as I breathe it in. I think I just saw a ghost that thinks he saw his twin. Urban legends entail tool for caution in. Live without a net, rock bottom never softening. Like ashes we all fall down for burnt offerings. Staring at reflections, trying to find connections. Forgotten recollections in search of direction. Staring at reflections, trying to find connections. Forgotten recollections, search of direction. Staring at reflections, trying to find connections. Forgotten recollections in search of direction. Salvation of the cross, a new life's resurrection. These walls feel like they're closing in. Bounce between highs and lows. Here he goes again, left for dead, but on the third day rose again. Through the concrete, another rose grows again. Winter change, but neath my wings come blowing in. Wicked waits and wait snakes waiting down the road for him. Seeds I've sown have grown, time for harvesting. Swept under the rug, what's beneath the carpet in. Got caught up by precise targeting. In multi-million dollar marketing. Sunlight my way, the devil keeps on darkening. Made your way into my heart, my mind keeps on marveling. From where I was to here and now, has to be the Father sing. Back to sleep, out to steal my shine. I keep sparking mics and sparkling. Reaching up high power, I am harnessing. Staring at reflections, trying to find connections. Forgotten recollections in search of direction. Staring at reflections, trying to find connections. Forgotten recollections, search of direction. Staring at reflections, trying to find connections. Forgotten recollections in search of direction. Salvation of the cross, a new life's resurrection. Fighting for the fallen like the feet's about to rise again. As it was, so shall it be, time and time again. Coming back for castaways and for the condemned. Praying for a way out before we reach the bitter end. Only wanna follow, the rest can keep on hollering. For Twitter trends, this is an announcement from way out. We are here, just trying to get it in. Like the content of my character would change if I could just shed my skin. Overwhelming love, I cannot comprehend. Used to try to tie up all my loose ends. Now frayed edges, I make immense amends. Searching for some sense that I can lend. Trying to buy a clue and share them dividends. Staring at reflections, trying to find connections. Forgotten recollections in search of direction. Staring at reflections, trying to find connections. Forgotten recollections, search of direction. Staring at reflections, trying to find connections. Forgotten recollections in search of direction. Salvation of the cross, a new life's resurrection.
I am a child of God and a person of worth who struggles with alcohol, drugs, and codependency. My name is Treber, and I choose recovery. Let's start with a little prayer. Lord, take these words that I speak tonight and let them touch someone's life. As I remember sitting in these chairs when Champ did his testimony and it touched my life. Let it all work through me that you would want for those to hear. Amen. October 29th of 2007, I woke up swollen, yellow, and feeling like death was going to take me. I kept thinking to myself, what happened in my life that it is this way right now? What I thought was normal, I guess, wasn't even close to what my lifestyle was. So let's answer that question. How did I get here? I was born to my parents, Sarah Jane and Charlie, along with my brother Todd, in Buffalo, New York in 1976. We're an average family that lived a normal life. My mother was a nurse, and my father, well, I really don't remember much of him. I do know that something went wrong that led my parents to divorce. This caused confusion in my life, being under the age of 6. My brother and I stuck it out together and managed while my mother, who became the main support, found our stepfather. He wasn't the dad that I knew, this soft-spoken, full-hearted man, but was controlling, and we were forced to love. Family life became repetitive in our days. We could follow the normal routine of the perfect family, school, work, dinner, etc. All that became routine was the drinking, arguing, and fighting. We always seemed to be caught up in it. I never understood what my brother and I had ever did that was so horrible to have so much of it. We were not good enough, kind enough, following directions enough. What did we have to do for you to just love me was my biggest question. I didn't understand that my parents were under the influence. I thought maybe if I did more at home, that would make my family love me more. I would do anything that would get someone to say, "Good job," and "I love you." Sometimes it would go a while without being said, but I would keep trying and trying until it happened. I looked forward to our vacation times in the summer because we would go to my grandparents' house in Hamburg, New York. I loved my grandparents so much. Their house was quiet, their love was unconditional. The stability and sanity were there. My grandparents would always take us to church and keep us busy to the point that the summers would just fly by. And the next thing you know, we must go back to the other routine. The thing I missed the most when I was not at their house was that unconditional love for the I love yous that were there and were always stated. By 13, I had 2 more siblings. The parent role began. There were plenty of times that the babysitting came before my wants, but they were the best birth control you could ever have for a teenager. This broke me to a point that I decided to take some pills to kill me. I called my friend Sarah in fear. I explained to her that I took 3 ibuprofens. As we all know, it didn't work. At this time, I really was angry at my father for leaving and not ever being there for me. I had to find a way to keep the depression and fear of rejection from creeping up on me so much. I didn't feel that there were ever any unconditional love in my life. If I did more things, then more people would like me, and that means that they loved me. So I was captain of the cheer team and the softball team. I was involved in all the clubs, the choir, and the band. My friends and I loved to do what we did involved with school, but there wasn't a night that we weren't smoking, drinking, getting high, and going wherever the boys were. My grades always stayed above a 3.5 GPA, so no one ever questioned me in what was happening in my other life. My grades and participation led me to college because without the scholarships, my family would not have been able to afford it. I was completely prepared for it. I could hold my liquor, I had a pot tolerance, I smoked cigarettes, and I even lost my virginity so that I would fit in. My knee injury cost me my softball scholarship. I just began drinking, using drugs, and also men more consistently to cover my feelings of failure and depression. The alcohol and drugs just made me numb. I was on academic probation, but I only had 6 classes left to finish my business degree. Funny part is I didn't even care about it because I was only at the school because that was the one my mom wanted me to attend when I really wanted to be a physical therapist. Again, I felt worthless and like a failure because I didn't make it to class or finish projects. I wasn't able to live up to the level of making my mom happy, so I quit. I decided to relocate, thinking that it would be the solution to my problem. My mom was the one to fix it all. She helped me into an apartment by the Detroit River. As a bartender from a college town, I was able to find a job in a walking distance from my apartment. I couldn't keep the bartending job because I was always out in the other bars before and after all of my shifts. Failure once again. I was done with this place. I was asked to help with the family business on Fort Myers Beach. Why would I say no? It would make my family happy, and it would get me out of my lonely situation. I said, "When do we leave?" This was going to change so much for me. Unfortunately, it was just a different location. The habit of using, including substances to people, kicked right back in. Finally, I made the decision to quit drinking. I was still using people and things. I had just removed one substance. My life is still unmanageable. I thought I could make things better if I settled down with someone that really loved me. That's when I met Timmy. I thought my life was complete. We loved each other very much. We got engaged. But unfortunately, 1 month later, he died in a car accident while under the influence on the way to our engagement party. I had 5 years sober, not using a program, remember, just removing a substance. I fell off the wagon. I got run over by it for about 3 years and a relationship later. This brings me to my day that death was to take me. I decided that I could never drink again. I went to an AA meeting that night, feeling alone and sicker than I have ever felt. After listening at the meeting, I decided it was time to work a program. I did 30 meetings in 30 days. I thought I was a champ at this now. I decided to get a sponsor only because they told me that was the next step. When meeting with her, I told her I was still smoking pot. She told me I wasn't sober, so I gave up. I decided to be my own sponsor. I looked at the steps and started to just check them off. It took me about 20 minutes to get through them the first time. I have accomplished meetings and the steps, so I'm good. This mentality lasted for about 10 years. I decided to focus on where I failed before. I figured the more I do and the happier I make people, the more successful I will be. School was next. I got my massage license and I started a business. I was no longer bartending, but I didn't change my people, places, and things. Little did I understand this was continuing me to maintain my craziness. What's next that I could do to make myself more loved and accepted? I rolled into Edison State College and finished my AA degree and continued to FGCU studying psychology, where I obtained my bachelor's degree. I was 2 semesters into my degree and realized that my 8-year non-relationship was a little unstable. It ended abruptly and very hurtful. I fell into my old patterns, of course, and used a man to get over it. Weeks later, I was at the doctor's office thinking I had the flu. I was told I was pregnant. Now, with this new adventure, I committed to my blessing in my life, my unborn child, that I would do it different than it was taught to me. My pregnancy was a blessing because I was told when I was 16 that I would never have children. So at 38, having a child was not part of my plan, but truly God's way of saving me. I remained drug and alcohol free, however, I didn't use the program. My life remained unmanageable. This time, I had nowhere to turn. Feeling like a failure at this mom thing made things even worse. I couldn't control my emotions and anything in my life. I ended up in the hospital with a panic attack. I truly thought I was dying. I knew at this moment my life had to change. I began seeing a counselor and was diagnosed as bipolar 2. This explained the depression and the manic episodes in my life that I was self-medicating all the time. With the right medication that I feared taking and the work with a counselor, I thought maybe I could overcome this. I realized that this was not the only thing that was missing in my life. A client brought me to Grace Church the first Sunday of 2018. I was greeted, got my daughter to the children's center, and I walked over to the sanctuary. Proverbs 29:23, pride ends in a fall, while humility brings honor. During the altar call, I fell to the altar desperate and crying, Lord, help me. At the exact moment I heard, I'm here. I dug deep getting information for a life at Grace Church. During a conversation, I was asked to try Celebrate Recovery. I chuckled and said, that's not what I need. I don't have those problems. I don't need to be there. I knew my problems were under control with the treatments that I was already doing, so I thought. As I continued going to church, I dove deep into a relationship with Christ. It was so different and new to me. I knew religion, but this relationship thing was amazing. I have never had a relationship that I could call amazing, not with anyone. Philippians 2:13 states, for it is God who works in you to will and to act in order to fulfill his good purpose. I got so comfortable at Grace that I tried Celebrate Recovery, scared to death. 2 amazing women greeted me and asked me to sit with them. In that moment, I knew I was supposed to be here. Again, not in my plan, but God's way of saving me. The first week of March, I began the Women's FAM Step Study. I got through those steps and was hungry for more. In that step study, I learned in step 1 and 2 that I could say that I had problems, and I know I can't do this alone. Step 3 made me understand why I needed Jesus in my life. I joined Grace Church, and in August, I reaffirmed my baptism. I felt like everything was falling right into place. I got serious about a sponsor. I'm willing to try anything a different way because it didn't work my way. Next, I got back into AA and attended meetings, mostly women's groups, because it made all the difference for me. Finally, I stepped into the Women's Chemical Dependency meeting in Choose Recovery. I knew God had definitely put me there. I broke down sobbing in the first meeting because I felt so safe. I know that when I walk into that room, I'm surrounded by others that are struggling just as I do. We do this one day at a time, sometimes one moment at a time. I met the basis of my support crew through my sobriety today in that room. I find myself picking up the phone more often to ask questions and look for answers than talk about how angry I am or being a third generation alcoholic in my family. Every day is new to me. Nothing seems to be the same before. Matthew 6:34 states, "So don't be anxious about tomorrow. God will take care of you tomorrow too. Live one day at a time." The levels of my anxiety for perfection and depressed feelings of failure do not control me anymore. When the battle of being a single mother creeps up on me, I have learned different ways to handle things unlike how they were done when I was young. Growing up, I was always taught to be self-sufficient, but in recovery, the last thing you want to do is rely on yourself. Currently, I have taken on a new sponsor, and I've started the steps over again. As things were revealed to me more and more, I realized that I have an issue with codependency. I never heard of this, but my life was full of it. This time around, I know that I truly cannot control things. Sitting through meeting after meeting, I've learned that I struggle daily with this sickness. How is it wrong to want to help people? Isn't that what Christians do? What do you mean that people will love you without conditions? Oh my God. I'm learning that I don't have to say yes, that I have feelings that are important, and I have people pleased all my life to get where I am currently. If you would have talked to this self-sufficient woman a year ago, you wouldn't hear these things by any means. I was so worried about what others thought of me, and my people-pleasing was out of control. Knowing how to build boundaries and to have self-respect is truly a gift from God through this program. Once again, not in my plan, but in God's way of saving me. I'm looking forward to taking my fourth step and the others. And then, even more diligently, I will do it with much more integrity. I must remember these three first steps, though. I cannot, he can, and I'm going to let him, because I'm powerless. Recovery has set my heart on fire and my soul longing to be the hands and feet of God, with showing others that it is possible. I enjoy praying weekly with those who are in need at the altar. I had the honor to speak at Detox and to be on the jail CR team. I cannot wait to walk on the holy ground where Jesus wanted us to go again. I feel that only recovery could have led me to do this. Nothing is more amazing than to have your daughter enjoying recovery life too as she's growing up. She has her friends and learns about Jesus. This is a true sign of me breaking the cycle in my family. I know that my daughter is a huge part of my recovery because of the reflection of her love and care to others. We have worked out ways to always say, "I love you," and show each other the unconditional love that is necessary in our relationship. After enduring the loss of our dear friend Conrad, losing my office, and financial hardships during the pandemic, God showed up and mended my heart, provided assistance for my family, and I was asked to join the Halcyon Spa team. I keep massaging, being that is a passion and skill that God has given me. Hurricane Ian took my mother's home from her and damaged my rental home. We still have my mom, 4 cats, and a dog living with us. Without my program of recovery, this would never be able to happen. I am able to open up and communicate feelings I was afraid of even bringing up before her. I know that my boundaries will make these things better and not worse for all of us under this roof. There are so many less chances of resentments as I have learned through my sponsor and recovery. This year's holidays were super tough for my daughter and I. My Puerto Rican sister, Chiquita, lost her battle against pneumonia 10 days before Christmas. This was my daughter's first loss. I cried out again. I cried out to God again. What do I do now? I have prayed in many ways for God to show me what I'm supposed to be doing. The Lord gave me the word teach, the idea of moving to a more affordable city, and I actually had comfort in all that He revealed. The miracle that I know is working through my recovery, and my family is seeing God's plan that saved my life. I have been told that I'm a different person, that I don't freak out so quickly. I don't have the anger, and the focus is a loving household and not a controlled one. God gives me tools to stay sober. I have my life more manageable by His glory, and He has led me in the self-worth direction that I won't be another generation of my family that will lead their children to their decisions. I'm working with God's grace and my love of recovery to give my daughter a choice in her life. John 8:12 states, Jesus said, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. January 13th of 2023, I decided with my great friend to make this scripture my life one. Let us tear off the chains and throw their ropes off. Psalm 2:3. Because I don't have to live my life like this anymore. I had my broken chains, and the verse tattooed on me for a reminder that God is a chain breaker, and I will remember this all my life. What a blessing recovering has been. I want to thank you for listening tonight. My name is Treber, and I choose recovery because it saved my life.
Thanks.